Nobody warned the last family that left. They just loaded what they could carry and never came back. What they left is still there. These 15 towns were swallowed by forest, flooded by reservoirs, or abandoned when the last coal car left. Number 6 on this list still has 5 residents and is still incorporated. Number 1 was collapsing while people were still living in it. Let us count them down. Number 15, Kaymoor, West Virginia. Carter G. Woodson, the father of Black history, came to Kaymoor with his brothers in the early 1900s to earn money for school. Founded in 1900, Kaymoor ran 2 mines across 4 camp sections. The lower settlement was 560 feet below the canyon rim, connected by a steep incline railway. According to National Park Service documentation, over 800 workers extracted nearly 17 million tons of coal over 62 years. The lower camp was abandoned in 1952. The mine closed in 1962. Today, 821 stairs descend from the rim to the ruins, including coke ovens, mine portals, and reclaimed foundations. It is one of the most physically demanding sites to reach in any national park in the country, which is exactly why most people never see it. Number 14, Nuttallburg, West Virginia. Henry Ford tried to own this town. He leased the coal operations in the 1920s, modernized the conveyor and washing infrastructure, and attempted to feed his Dearborn steel mills with New River smokeless coal. He eventually walked away frustrated. John Nuttall, an English entrepreneur, built Nuttallburg beginning in 1870, with coal lands bought for $2 to $8 per acre, correctly betting that the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway would come through the gorge. According to the West Virginia Encyclopedia, Nuttallburg peaked in the 1920s at 500 residents. Mining operations ceased in 1958. The Nuttall family transferred the site to the National Park Service in 1998. Stabilization was completed in 2011. The coal conveyor, tipple, and rows of coke ovens remain, documented by the National Park Service as one of the most complete coal-related industrial sites in the United States. Number 13, Lost Cove, North Carolina. The name is not a metaphor. Lost Cove sits above the Nolichucky River in Yancey County, accessible only by a 7-mile hike, with no road in and no road out. According to the Southern Appalachian Highlands Conservancy, which began purchasing the site in 2012, the community was founded during the Civil War era, and its remoteness and position near the state boundary made it effectively invisible to tax collectors. At its peak in the 1920s, roughly 100 people lived here, supported by a sawmill, a school, a church, and documented moonshining. When the railroad stopped serving the community in the 1950s, the last family moved out in 1957. Derelict homes, chimney stacks, rusted farm tools, and moss-covered headstones remain. The Conservancy purchased additional land in May 2025 to protect it permanently. The people who came here to save their town accidentally created the park that destroyed it. In 1920, Elkmont cottage owner Willis P. Davis returned from Yellowstone and proposed a national park for the Smokies. His neighbor, David Chapman, led the campaign that made it happen. The Appalachian Club and the Wonderland Hotel, built in 1912, had made Elkmont one of East Tennessee's most fashionable summer retreats. When the park was established in 1934, cottage owners sold at half price in exchange for lifetime leases renewed in 1952 and 1972. In 1992, the National Park Service refused renewal. Approximately 70 buildings stood vacant. In 2005, the Wonderland Hotel collapsed. The National Park Service announced preservation of 19 structures in 2009. Demolition of 29 buildings was completed in 2018. 16 preserved buildings are open today. Number 11. Thurmond, West Virginia. At its peak, this town handled more freight than Cincinnati and Richmond combined. 95,000 passengers a year moved through its station when 15 trains ran daily. The 100-room Dun Glen Hotel was nationally known. Captain William Thurmond had banned alcohol on his land. The McKell family, who owned the adjacent section, had not, and their hotel's poker game reportedly ran for 14 years without stopping, documented by Ripley's Believe It or Not. In 1930, the hotel burned. In 1931, the bank closed. In 1949, the C&O Railway switched from steam to diesel and stopped needing Thurmond for coal and water. The town emptied. Today, Thurmond has 5 residents, documented as the least populous incorporated municipality in West Virginia. The entire town is on the National Register of Historic Places. The road in is narrow and winding, and travel with a trailer is strongly discouraged. Number 10. Proctor, North Carolina. This town did not empty. It was drowned. Named for Moses Proctor, the first European settler, the community was a logging and farming settlement until the Tennessee Valley Authority constructed Fontana Dam between 1942 and 1944, consuming the lower sections of the town. Displaced residents lost access to family cemeteries on the far bank, reachable only by ferry. The National Park Service committed to a road known today as the Road to Nowhere to allow descendants to visit burial grounds. The road was never completed. Approximately 6 miles of pavement end abruptly at a tunnel in the forest. Foundations and structural remnants of Proctor's lower sections remain beneath Fontana Lake. Number 9. Matewan, West Virginia. First pattern break. This town is not fully abandoned, but most visitors walk through it without knowing they are standing on the most violent ground in American labor history. The Matewan Massacre took place on May 19, 1920, when Baldwin Felts detectives arrived to evict miners from company housing. Sheriff Sid Hatfield met them in the street. The ensuing gunfight killed 7 detectives, the town's mayor, and 2 miners. According to the West Virginia Encyclopedia, it directly preceded the Battle of Blair Mountain in 1921, the largest armed labor uprising in American history. Hatfield was later assassinated on courthouse steps. Today, Matewan has a population under 400. Its main street is preserved as a historic district. Most American history textbooks never mention either event. Number 8. Cannel City, Kentucky. The name comes from Cannel coal, a clean-burning variety that powered gas lamps and industrial furnaces before petroleum displaced it. Morgan County, Kentucky, holds one of the largest documented Cannel coal deposits in the eastern United States, and Cannel City grew as a company town around it. When railroad lines opened the Kentucky Highlands to outside capital in the 1880s and the 1890s, local families sold mineral rights for cents on the dollar, often not understanding the documents they were signing. When the Cannel coal market collapsed and petroleum took over, the foundation of Cannel City evaporated. What the town represents is the documented pattern of Appalachian extraction. Capital flows in, takes what it came for, and flows back out, leaving a population with no industry and land whose mineral rights are already gone. Subscribe if you are finding these interesting and want more. Number 7. Elkhorn City, Kentucky. Once a lively railroad hub where dance halls and theaters echoed through the Pike County Mountains, Elkhorn City built its entire identity around the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway and the Lavisa Fork of the Big Sandy River. Coal trains moved through it constantly. According to Appalachian memories, what replaced that activity was a documented, quiet, empty storefronts and a main street whose architecture still shows the scale of what once ran through it. The Russell Fork River Gorge surrounding the town is one of the most dramatic in the eastern United States. Whitewater paddlers descended every October during dam releases. The Army Corps of Engineers releases water from John Flanagan Reservoir in October, creating one of the most technical whitewater runs in the eastern United States. American Whitewater rates the run as Class 5 through the Breaks Interstate Park Canyon. The gorge is there. The industry that justified the town is not. Number 6. No Business Creek Community, Kentucky. The name was not a warning, it was a statement. Early settlers who established a community along No Business Creek in the remote McCreary County mountains of Kentucky reportedly used the phrase to describe what anyone from outside had there. No business being in a place that isolated. At its brief peak around the turn of the 19th century, a man named Richard Slavin organized the community on land granted to him by the federal government after the Civil War, according to National Park Service documentation. The community farmed, logged, and kept almost entirely to itself. No road of consequence ever reached it. The railroad never came. When the resources were exhausted and the outside economy no longer had a reason to notice, the people left with the same quiet efficiency with which they had arrived. Today, No Business Creek still runs through what is now Big South Fork National River and Recreation Area. Documented structures are minimal. The forest has taken nearly everything back. The name survives on maps when the community it named is almost entirely gone. Number 5. Stony Creek, Virginia. The town of Stony Creek in Floyd County sat at the intersection of the subsistence farming economy of the Virginia Blue Ridge and the brief industrial period that came with small-scale logging and mining at the turn of the 20th century. Floyd County remains one of the most geographically isolated counties in Virginia, documented by the Virginia Department of Transportation as having among the lowest road network densities in the state. Communities in Floyd County's hollows operated with the self-sufficiency that the industrial economy neither required nor rewarded, and when the logging operations moved on, the population that had grown around them contracted. What remains in the hollows around Stony Creek are foundations, cemetery plots, millstones, and chimney stacks standing alone in second-growth forest. These remnants form the physical record of a settlement pattern that predated the cash economy and outlasted the industrial one by only a generation. Number 4. Clinchco, Virginia. Dickinson County, Virginia is documented as the most remote county in the state, further from an interstate highway than any other county in Virginia. Clinchco grew as a coal company town in the early 20th century, when the Clinchfield Coal Corporation opened operations along the Pound River, building worker housing, a company store, and a school, the complete infrastructure of a single industry-dependent economy. At its peak, Clinchco supported a functioning community of several hundred residents. When the Clinchfield operations ceased and the company town structure dissolved, there was no economic base to replace what was lost. Clinchco had been built by coal, and coal had no interest in what happened after it was done. Documented Virginia state census data confirms Dickinson County among the most rapidly depopulating counties in the state, with population declining more than 30% since 1980. The ridge and hollow topography surrounding it is some of the most dramatic in the southern Appalachians, visually stunning and economically isolating in equal measure. Number 3. Beartown, West Virginia. Pocahontas County, West Virginia covers 900 square miles with a population of approximately 7,000 patients, documented by the Census Bureau as one of the least densely populated counties east of the Mississippi. Beartown developed briefly when timbering of old-growth spruce and hardwood created a temporary economy. When the Monongahela National Forest absorbed the surrounding land and the timber was gone, the community had no reason to remain. Beartown State Park, a few miles from the former community, preserves a documented maze of house-sized sandstone boulders that early settlers named because bears sheltered among them in winter. The bears are still there, most of the people are not. Number 2, Glendale Springs, North Carolina. Ashe County sits in the far northwestern corner of North Carolina, without an interstate highway or a 4-lane road connecting it to the outside world. Glendale Springs developed in the late 19th century in the upper New River Valley, one of the oldest rivers on the continent, documented by geologists as flowing north in a drainage pattern older than the Appalachian ridges themselves. The Holy Trinity Episcopal Church, built in 1903, contains frescoes painted by North Carolina artist Ben Long between 1974 and 1980, and they are documented by the North Carolina Arts Council as among the most significant religious artworks in the state. The frescoes draw occasional visitors to a crossroads whose commercial life ended decades ago. Number 1. Proctor Mining Town, North Carolina. Before the reservoir and the road to nowhere, the Hazel Creek watershed, now part of Great Smoky Mountains National Park, held a documented population of 500 to 600 residents at its peak in the early 20th century. It had a post office, a school, churches, a grist mill, and subsistence farming alongside small-scale copper and iron mining. The Ritter Lumber Company began logging the upper watershed in 1906. When the park creation process began in the 1930s, every resident was required to leave. Families that had farmed these coves for 4 and 5 generations were displaced in a single decade. Cemeteries along Fontana Lake became accessible only by a special National Park Service ferry arrangement. That documented arrangement continues to generate tension between descendants of displaced families and park management today. What the forest has taken back in the Hazel Creek watershed, it has taken completely. The trails are documented. The community is gone. These places were not forgotten because they were unimportant. They were forgotten because the economy that built them left. Most of these sites are on national park land, national forest land, or private property. Research land ownership before you go. The history is yours. Access requires a conversation first.